This week's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/DJ Force X. There are over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. This episode of the DJ Force X podcast is proudly sponsored by Fixed. Fixed is a fan and artist-friendly independent record label that specializes in hybrid electronic rock. It's home to the likes of Celduella, Blue Starly, I Will Never Be the Same, Richie Nix, The Algorithm, Voicians, CD Akira, and a whole bunch more. Check out their latest label sampler for just $1 at their official store, fixedstore.com. That's FIXT store.com. Save 10% off your first order by using my coupon code FORCEX. That's FORCEX. They have loads of shirts, hoodies, stickers, posters, and many other accessories for all their artists, and this is available worldwide with fantastic international shipping rates to go with that. So head over to fixedstore.com and check them out. And don't forget, use my coupon code FORCEX. Hello and welcome to the DJ Force X podcast, episode 57. Yes, on this episode, I'm going to hit you with a double header. I have another Canadian doubleheader, if you will. Coming from the Canadian territories, I have Van Halst and Fractal Cipher, both very different in their approach to the heavy sound, but both equally good. So please check out their albums and stuff. We're going to chat about it in the interviews, which I'm just going to lead you into now. So first up, it's going to be Cammy and Brett from Van Halst, and then it's going to have a little interlude in the bit where I will introduce Fractal Cipher. Enjoy. I would like to welcome to my show this week Cammy and Brett from the band Van Halst. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no worries. How are you doing today?
Doing all right. No complaints.
Yeah, cool. Getting ready for a show. So.
Oh, nice. You playing tonight?
We are.
Oh, cool. All right. I won't keep you too long then. So you have an album out called World of Make Believe, which is out now.
Yep.
And it is self-released. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. So, yeah, if I could just get some, like, the origin story of the band, if I can.
Sure. It's a bit of a long story, but to keep a long story short, myself and the guitarist have known each other for a number of years. I think, 12 or 14 years. And we started this project as a solo project for me. But after we started writing and kind of established that the project needs to be a lot heavier than what we were writing, and we really wanted to experiment with some metal, that's when we started hunting around for a drummer that could play, kind of proggy metal type music. Mm-hmm. And that's when we met Brett, who's here now. Cool. And he joined the band. And then when we relocated from Edmonton to Toronto, we met Brendan, who is now our bass player. So kind of from all areas of the country.
All right. Excellent. So the album, World of Make Believe, it's a cool album. I've listened to it a couple of times. I've been streaming it off Apple Music, in fact. So you might get a couple of cents from it. But yeah, no, it's a really good album. I really enjoy I've got a couple of tracks that I really enjoy. Monster, mm-hmm. Questions. So I've got listed here, Save Me and Perfect Storm.
Awesome.
Cool. No, I just thought those are the sort of like standout tracks for me on there. It's quite an intense but melodic ride of an album.
It is, yeah. That's what we were going for.
So it kind of goes up, down, intensity, and then it sort of has those soft, mellow moments, piano songs, stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, tell me about the album. Does it? Is there a narrative running through it, or is each song its own entity?
I mean, when we were writing it, we were definitely looking at the project through a social justice lens. Mm-hmm. So each song kind of tackles a different issue. It was something that as a band we felt was important to talk about. The songs come from some first-person experience in some fashion. I've done a lot of youth work with homeless youth, and that inspired a lot of the music. And I guess, it's a definite running theme throughout the album.
Cool. With the album, obviously it's been out for a couple of months now?
Since March.
So it's been literally. How's it done for you?
Good. Actually, we're really proud of what it's done. Yeah. We've been nominated for a couple awards in Canada, which is great. It had cracked the top 10 for the Canadian college radio charts. We were number 8 for a long time.
Nice.
So that was really cool. Yeah, it's definitely exceeded and met the expectations we had for it.
Cool. So with that, obviously being a self-release as well, was that the general feeling when you made this album that you wanted to do it yourselves, like off your own back, or was there hope of a label getting involved?
Actually, a label was involved when we started this project.
Okay.
And it didn't work out. So we decided to kind of take back the reins and just say, we want to do the album our way. The eventual goal is to bring on a record label partner in the future, but it has to be the right partner. And, we just wanted to make a good first impression and put an album out ourselves that we could be proud of, and that could carry us through to the next project.
Cool. So it's a very good album. Like I said before, I really enjoy it because I've had it on my rotations. So what is I've asked one band earlier, also from Canada, what is the scene like up there? Because I seem to have a couple of bands coming through at the moment that have been sort of catching my eye. You're one of them, and I was just sort of wondering what the scene is like in Canada itself.
It could be better, I think. I don't know. People aren't crazy passionate about this type of music that much here. North America in general, but the States is a little bit better than Canada is. I don't know. There's just not a lot of music fanatics up here. It can be kind of difficult to get people to come out to live shows, stuff like that. But people just in, Europe and South America and places like that just seem to be a lot more passionate about what's going on and just more into it in general,
Yeah. That seems the general consensus from one of our bands from your area, saying it's not great. There's not that much focus on Canadian metal or Canadian rock.
Yeah, definitely not.
Even though there are some bands that have come out of there that have done very well. You got bands like Cancer Bats,
Cobra,
3 Inches of Blood, Annihilator, bands like that kind of. Devlin Townsend's another one.
Yep.
So they do come out of Canada. I had to do some research to find that out. But
that's what I mean. They're not in the forefront of your mind, right? They're there, but they're not the top runners of the genre for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they come over here. I'm in the States actually, but when I was in England, I've watched Cancer Bats. I've seen in 3 Inches of Blood and Devlin Townsend in his various guises, be it Strapping Young Lad or his own solo work, but not immediately obvious that they're Canadian. They don't say they're Canadian as such. If you get what I mean, whereas you get the instant kind of reaction that they're American, so they're from North America, which obviously isn't great for you guys because Canada's a separate country altogether. But being from England, I get the same thing because we've got many countries around us. I live here now, and I get, are you from Scotland? Are you from Wales? And my accent is nothing like those two. So I get it. I get that part of it. It's just that it's not blindingly obvious. I don't feel that they're promoting the fact that Canada has this scene going on. There are quality bands like yourself there that are just kind of waiting to be heard. And like I say, some of them do get out, and I think they should be a bit more, helping you guys out or helping out the scene there a bit more. I don't know what they do within Canada, but
I mean, Canada's quite a conservative country. And I think maybe that's part of the issue is, metal is not a conservative genre. It's a little out there as it's meant to be. It's supposed to be shocking and uncomfortable. And I think it's just something that again, Canada is a great country, but it is quite conservative. And I think sometimes just afraid to really promote something that isn't, have immediate likability or something that isn't niche. That's why we're known for a lot of pop artists like Celine Dion and Justin Bieber and Avril, or a lot of country artists like Shania Twain, because it's almost like their music is very safe.
Yes.
So I think that's probably has something to do with it.
Yeah. No, you're right. So obviously you have a show tonight. Do you have any tours coming up or any other shows?
Yeah, we've got quite a few. We just finished our Western Canada tour, which went really well. We were pretty stoked with it. We're playing tonight in Toronto, and we've got a lot of shows over the next about 2 months throughout Ontario. And we keep everything updated on our website. Cool.
Any plans to come down to the States?
Yeah, that'll be our plan for next year, for sure. Nothing's booked, but we're definitely looking at some opportunities.
Excellent. So I've got a couple of questions left for you guys. You can both answer these individually. So the first one is your 3 top albums that mold you into the person that you are today, stroke musician. So your 3 most influential albums you can think of.
Okay. Well, for me, one of the biggest ones was These Days by Bon Jovi.
Cool.
And Amaryllis by Shinedown.
Nice.
And Black Widow by In This Moment.
Okay.
For me, it's hard to pick a specific album out of the band, but I'd have to say probably Octavarium from Dream Theater. Just any Dream Theater album in general has just molded a lot of what I'm into. Pink Floyd's The Wall got me into a lot of concept-y albums and stuff that tells stories, stuff that very much interests me. And a third album, probably Moving Pictures by Rush.
Cool. 6 very good albums there.
Yeah.
Nice. So what are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not doing band stuff, what do you do?
Oh, is there a life outside of music?
Well, some call it a life, some just call it video games,
That's pretty much sums up Brett. I'm an avid swimmer. I love swimming. I used to swim competitively for a long time, and it's just something that I still love to do, and haven't been doing as often in the past couple months because we've been on the road and doing a lot of stuff, but I definitely like to hit the water as often as I can.
Cool. Brett?
I don't know. I do a lot of practicing. We do a lot of time dedicated to music. Yeah, in the off time, the odd video game here and there is always fun.
Cool.
Just the other. I don't know. I'm brand new in Toronto. I just moved down here, so I'll have to figure out what other stuff you can do around here. It seems to be a lot more interesting of a city than where I've come from. So I'll find something, I'm sure.
Cool. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with video games. You'd be surprised how many other musicians have that as a pastime. So, because it is something you can kind of do on the road as well. So when you're out with the band and you kind of need to have that moment, you can break out a handheld game system, or if you're lucky enough to have a tour bus, it may have a gaming system inside there. So that's all good. So, finally, where can people reach you? Where's the best place to hit up Van Halst?
Either our website, vanhalstmusic.com, or on any of our social media platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all under Van Halst. And yeah, we're pretty easy to get a hold of.
Cool. And you're very responsive to everyone that messages you.
Sure. Yep.
Obviously, if they're nice messages.
Yeah, exactly. I'll respond to everything.
All right, cool. Well, Cami, Brett, thank you very much for your time today. Good luck with the album still. I know it's been out for a couple of months, but, I hope it continues to do well for you into next year. And, I hope to see you down in the States at some point next year.
For sure.
If you get that hooked up, let me know. Can always run some promotions and stuff, especially if you hit down here in Tampa.
Okay. That's where my favorite band is from, so.
Yeah. Cool. So, again, thank you guys, and have a good rest of your day. Good luck with the show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cool. So that was Cammy and Brett from Van Halst. Thank you again to those guys for doing this interview. It was a pleasure. And they're gonna go on to do some good things. I think they're well on their way on that front. And on to another band which I think will be going on to do very well. This is Simon from Fractal Cipher. Enjoy. I would like to welcome to my show this week Simon from the band Fractal Cypher. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you for having me.
Yep, not a problem, not a problem. So, the band Fractal Cypher, you've got an album out now called The Human Paradox. You've released it yourself, is that correct?
Yeah, of course.
Yep, off your own back. Awesome. So just before we start chatting about the album, can we get some background on your band?
Yeah. Well, the band started in 2012 when a bunch of college friends bound together to start the band, and it was called Far From Reality at the time. Mm-hmm. And the band Far From Reality kept going on until 2013 with the release of an album called Reminiscence. But after that album just came out, there was a conflict over musical differences, mm-hmm. and the band just split up, and that's why Fractal Cipher is born, because 3 of the members of Far From Reality just stayed together and decided to continue making music, and that's in 2014 that we started to compose for the album that is now called The Human Paradox. Mm-hmm. We entered the studio in 2015 and 2016 the release of this album.
Cool. So yeah, the album Human Paradox is a great album. It's kind of a how would I put it? Kind of a power metal, classic metal kind of sound to it. Mm-hmm. If that's a fair comparison on that front, and it's got some great tracks on it. I've got a couple I've listed here of my actual standout tracks from my ears, if you will. I've got Endless Circle, which I thought was a good one. Awakening is another one, and Imminent Extinction.
Mm-hmm.
All solid tracks. Where would you say your influences lie as a band?
As a band, it's a hard question to answer because there's so many influences in that band. For example, there's Ludo, which is the main composer of that band, playing the keys mm-hmm. In the band. He listens a lot of classical music. He listens a lot of gent music, more percussive music. So I think that's his part into the composition. Still, we have myself. I'm more into power metal, which can be heard too on the way I composed my vocal lines and also in some of the lyrics topics. And there's modern rock as well, classic rock. So we try to tie everything together, and that makes something that you can hear on that record.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hear all those sounds within the album. I really like my personal sort of like favorite on kind of like rock albums or metal albums, if you will. They're kind of like long solos, like kind of like long held notes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And your album has that, and it was great. I've been listening to it kind of since I got sent it. Actually, it's been in my rotations, and it's been really cool because it's kind of switching it up from the rest of the stuff I normally listen to. So.
Well, it's pretty appreciated.
Cool, no worries, man. So, what's the story running? Because obviously, you're writing the lyrics. What is the story running through the album, or is each track its own kind of entity?
Yeah, well, it's not a concept album, which it's not like a storyline throughout the whole album. Mm-hmm. Still, I think every song can fall under the same theme or topics, which, the Human Paradox has not been chosen as a title for nothing. Mm-hmm. Every song speaks about something human, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's not written in a way that's literal. It's more metaphoric way to say things. So sometimes I would need to explain in what mood I was when I wrote the song. But anyway, that's not the thing that is important, because everyone can make its own story out of the songs, because it's universal topics.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to achieve with that album, because we didn't want to give something too hard to digest for a first record. Being a progressive band, is too hard to fall under cliches or just to try to do too much to impress and to feel like you're part of the gang and that you're part of the major league. And that was not our intention. We wanted to do something like honest but still humble. And we don't know what the future holds for us, but for now we just really wanted to do something complex but simple as well. That was the
kind of like an introduction to you, if you will. Whereas a lot of bands with their first release, because they've got a couple of demos behind them, they tend to throw everything into that first release. Not that you've taken anything from it, but they do throw everything into it, and it can become what's the right word? A mess, if you will, or just like every track's different. Whereas, like you said, you've kind of harnessed, you've simplified, it's still kept to what you want it to be. So it's progressive, it's got some complexity to it, but it's simplified, easy to digest. So
yeah, of course,
cool.
We wanted to go. We wanted to have the opportunity to go further. So that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So, like you said, it was self-released. What was the sort of like strategy behind that? In as much as, was that initially planned? Were you hoping to get a label to release it, or was it always going to be something you wanted to kind of release off your own backs?
Yeah, of course, we wanted to have a label behind, and still we tried. We sent the album to a lot of them. We got some responses, but in today's industry, they want a band that already has a fan base and money income enough to bring money in the label. So we didn't have that at the time. And we're trying hard at the moment to build that.
Cool.
They don't invest in bands anymore. The labels, I mean, they don't invest in bands anymore. They're not going to put like 50 grand to promote your album and to put you on a tour. They don't do that anymore. They want you to be established to a minimum. And that's the work that bands nowadays need to do on their own before they get signed on label to be distributed all around the world.
Yeah.
And that's the part that we are at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, it's very rare these days that labels do take a chance on new bands, in as much as ones that aren't proven. Whereas like some back in the day, it was just the music that spoke, and the labels go, yeah, we can put that out, we can make that, earn X amount of money. But obviously these days it's a lot more difficult with the way people consume music, for one, and actually bands being able to like play in all these places freely without having to worry too much about the monetary side of things. So with that, with your band and like gigs and touring, do you have anything coming up, or have you been on tour recently?
We didn't went on tour recently, but we're planning one. Which I can't discuss too much because it's really at the first steps of the thing. But there's definitely one coming up. We just don't know when, probably this fall or winter. Still, we have a few gigs in our area of Montreal, and we're making our way slowly, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Just out, because I've been speaking to a couple of bands based up in Canada recently, and there seems to be a few metal bands going on there of good quality. I was just sort of wondering what the scene was like for you guys in your area of Canada.
Well, it's not an easy scene, but it's a scene that has a lot of bands. It can have a show every day with 4, 5, 6 bands. Only in Montreal, okay? So take that in Toronto, in Vancouver, take that in everywhere in Canada. So there's a lot of bands playing every night, and it's pretty much hard to just get out of Canada because I don't know, it's a personal point of view maybe, but I think that it's a lot harder for a Canadian band to get international recognition than for American bands or European bands, for example. And I don't know why. It's just like a feeling, a personal feeling I get, because I know so many good bands which don't get the recognition that they should have. And the scene is maybe, I think, overwhelmed with too much to offer, and too less people to listen, because Canada is like 35 million people in the country, which is not that much when you compare to the States or to some European countries. So the people who can listen to the music is far less than some other places in the world for the same amount of music that gets out every year.
Yeah. It's about finding the right channel in order to kind of put your music out there. Obviously, you've got a press guy helping you out with that. Otherwise, I wouldn't have heard of you. Otherwise,
yeah, of course.
So you're making the right moves on that front. But I mean, the album's quality it's up there with a lot of the European like power metal, heavy metal, melodic death metal albums. To be honest with you, the ones I've heard recently, anyway, it's the quality's up there, the production wise, and the songwriting's really tight as well. So you've definitely got the ingredients to push it. Just need those people to hear it, don't you? So, but yeah, no, I was just curious about the Canadian scene, because, like you say, metal bands from Canada, it's not a it's generally not heard of, or it's not known. I mean, there are bands from there that have done well, but it's not an area where people go looking. And I think they should, because, like I said, I've had a whole bunch of Canadian bands like on my show, and they're there. So I'm trying to help, obviously, get the word out on that front as well. So, but yeah, no, it seems like there's something healthy coming through. You just need to, find that breakthrough point, I guess, on that front.
Well, and if I may add, it's that in Canada, I think there's not a metal culture or a rock culture, because there are some countries where the government itself invest in music, invest in culture, and they recognize the rock scene and the metal scene as part of the culture, which is not the case in Canada. You get to hear on radio some stuff that's really formatted for radio. And being in Quebec as well, because we are from the province of Quebec, which is a French province. Yeah. What you get to hear on television and on the radio must be like French all the time, which is not a bad thing, because there's this protection of the language, which is important, but still it affects some musicians, because they can get their music to be played anywhere, which is our case. I can speak for other provinces, but what concerns us is that we can't get to play our music anywhere on platform other than some radios such as yourself that can play anything they want. But so that puts some difficulties into the process of being known in our area without sending our music everywhere in the world and waiting for responses,
Yeah, no, definitely. Were you tempted to record, or maybe you have you recorded the album in French?
Sorry?
Were you tempted to record the album in French?
No, never.
No? Okay.
No, because the language for me is like something that you work with, and for rock and metal, English is the only material which make it sound what it is. There's a few bands that works in French in our area, which is good, but that's not what we wanted. That's not the sound we wanted. Yeah. Yeah, no, we never thought about it.
Okay, no, I was just curious, because I interviewed a band from France, actually, a metal band from France called Smash Hit Combo, a good couple of months ago now, and they've previously, all their albums were recorded in French, and they were kind of like a sort of a metalcore, rapcore type band. And it was all in French. And then this album they're recording right now, whatever's coming out next, they've done an English version and a French version. So I was just curious to see if you were going to do the sort, or maybe have done the same thing. So
No, the only thing that may happen is like one song someday, but no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. All right, cool. No, I was just curious on that one. So that's all good. So I've got a couple of questions left for you, Simon. This is the first one is your 3 top albums that have molded you as the musician that you are today.
Okay, well, that's a hard one to only choose 3, but number 3, The Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
Cool.
Which gave me what I needed to start singing.
Cool.
Ecliptica by Sonata Arctica.
Nice.
Which was my first introduction into power metal. Yeah. And the last one, which is my top album in metal, which is Once by Nightwish.
Nice. Some excellent choices there.
That would be the top 3 album of yeah.
Cool,
yeah.
Cool. So what are your hobbies away from music? So when you're not playing with the guys in Fractal Cipher, what do you do?
Well, that's a hard question because we are always together, but we really love outdoors activities like, we don't do anything too fancy, like a fire camp, some acoustic guitars, some beers, just relax over the campfire and have a chat. We're really simple guys. We're not into like the partying. See, we're not like 80s rock star,
Yeah.
So it's really much down to earth kind of thing. So yeah, that would pretty much be it.
Cool. And finally, where can people reach the band? Where's the best place for them to go check you out?
In shows, you mean?
On the internet. So, if they're listening to this, they can go to a certain website.
Yeah, well, we have a Facebook, of course, and you can follow us on every platform that you can buy music, like Spotify. You can go on Bandcamp, Bandbrand. You can go on Amazon. Cool. So every platform that sells music, we are on that platform. iTunes also. So yeah, just to name those. I may forget some, but I think that's pretty much it.
Cool, excellent. Well, thank you, Simon. I'll just tell everyone, go check out the Fractal Cipher album, The Human Paradox, which is out now. Like I said, it's via every digital outlet, Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, all those good places. And do you have physical copies as well?
Yeah, you can order physical copies over bandbrand.com.
Cool, bandbrand.com. Go check that out if you prefer picking up physical copies. So, Simon, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And good luck with the album. And have a good one.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.